Hey everyone, we have a lot to get through tonight. There's 5 ideas I want to go through, help you look at what's going to happen tomorrow, and I really want to cover the indexes a little in depth on what happened today. It was actually pretty good because it's going to make it very easy for us to tell if a decision's been made or not. And I'll explain that towards the end on the indexes. So make sure you stay to the end. Now, Tesla was in the top 10 video for Saturday. If you have not watched that top 10 video, I would watch it. I will link it at the end. But what you're seeing is this 287.47. So the one thing that we were doing in the trading room today, I'll just give you a really quick tip, is look how stocks respond to the previous day's close after a large sell-off in the indexes. And so essentially all we really did all day was have it rally up and then just be met by waves of selling over and over again every single time it got up to here. Now, the good news with this is that it didn't break down. So if you were interested in being, long this, it really wasn't the end of the world. You might not have made anything. Trading the options is going to be a little hard. We had one short that stuck out for us today pretty clearly, and we did that. Let me just get to that real quick, and I'll walk you through it so you can see what we did there. So one thing I stressed this morning was you don't want to be shorting off the open, right? That's rookie stuff. Like when you have a gap down like this, you don't short the gap, right? What you do is you cover your short, and then you kind of see how it sets up, if it could set up again, unless you're looking as a long-term short. But we went right to that level, and we looked for the gap fill, and then as soon as that doji broke right there, you see that pretty clear. That gave us a really good entry, and then that gave you a really good stop. You could do that trade, right? And then you're basically risking $1, which is pretty insane for something like Tesla. And then you just, the risk on, and then you figure out what to do with it from there. But even on the option side, if you did the 280s, you made some money. But with the VIX where it is, and I'm going to address that at the end, it's been very difficult to make money in options. But this trade was set up perfectly for us. You now have this doji just sitting there. Look at that little bar. So you have this little uncertainty. If you flip this, it's quite possible you complete a Morningstar pattern. I'll link those videos at the end for those that aren't familiar with them. But if you flip, you have a perfect Morningstar and possibly could get back up to this level again, see how it acts. If you see more sell-off, that's a complete reversal pattern. And you know to get out of the way because the 50 does become an issue. And there are some that broke down today that are leaders, and there are others that held in there that are leaders. So let's address a couple of these. So this was another one that was in the top 10, I believe, and what we were looking for here. What my thought is, or we went over semiconductors in the top 10 that much I know. I have to go take a look at the list. But you can see this right here and see how you're setting up, right? See this head right here, and you see this left shoulder. So it's very similar, but this cut of the 50 was everything you needed to see. If you have to be really careful here. So if you're shorting here, okay, that's not a game plan. That's a hope and a dream that it's going to reverse and go back down, right? If you're shorting here that day and you're using this high as your stop, that's a good trade. But if you're trying to short this day, that's got disaster written all over it. You need it to trigger some kind of pattern before you do it. But what you're seeing now is now you have this bearish engulfing and you're under the 50. You tried to rally all day, and it's going to be the same story that we went through earlier. As we went over earlier, and as we went over ad nauseum in the trading room today, these closes. You have to look at Friday's closes and how you respond. I mean, you can have an algo kind of trigger you, which is what happens here. Everyone gets giddy and excited and then has their hopes and dreams smashed, and then they just kind of work you down. And that's what happened here. So you saw the people cover, and then everyone said, oh boy, we're going to rip back up just like we did the other day. And that's not what happened. So you always have to look for these levels, especially on gap downs, on follow-through days. You have to watch how you act at those levels. So the question is, what do you do now with it? Well, this is broken. There's very little to say here. So Friday you could have said, oh, well, that's just, that's going to oversold. It's algos. It'll come back. When you break like that, there's very little left that's redeeming about this chart. I'm just put these levels in here. So that 164.55, right? When you break that level, that's been pretty much it. You were trying to get back over. You tried to get up there. You were unable to. So now you're in a position where you could start looking and possibly seeing these other levels. If you took the low, and let's just put an anchored VWAP there on it, see where that would put us. Let's get rid of these other lines very quickly, and we'll go from there. But if you could start seeing once you broke that, that became a problem, right? Putting anchored VWAP on peaks and valleys is probably the most prudent way to use them. You'll find little spots, but you can see here how you broke. This could very easily get to the lows again if it doesn't find some support soon. And the index in and of itself is not finding support soon. We're going to go through the sector in a moment and go from there. Apple actually did find some support today, and I think that's pertinent. So Apple found support, and you found it right there on the 200. They made your trading very easy tomorrow by having a doji right here. All you have to do is just watch these two levels and see how it acts. So trading got very easy. If you get over that 162.90, then you just see how you act at the previous day's close, which is 163.62. Until then, you still have a gap that you're dealing with, right? So you did gap down, but you at least held here, which is, it's a start. It's not, the greatest thing in the world, but it is a start. Now, we're going to cover the sector at the end when we cover semiconductors and the indexes, but I just want to go through this. I keep hammering this stock home. And again, there's a clip, and you can go over it in the newsletter where I lay the entire trade out. I just think it's very clear to me what's going on here and what sectors are going to perform. And we're going to talk about energy, but this particular name, when you have names like this that are closing at new multi-year highs, and you go take a look at where you are on the monthly chart, okay, and this is what you're doing in this kind of environment, you need to pay attention to these names, right? You need to pay attention. You have an upper channel here, right, that's going to make $80 look like a joke if it breaks out. This little game here that the Wall Street Journal tried to play where Warren doesn't really want to own the company, just wants to own 50%, was just utter nonsense. So if you think he's waiting for it to get cheaper, he's not. Let me just leave it at that, okay? I have no way of knowing exactly what he's doing, but if you could pay 70 for something, why would you be paying 76? Why would you pay 80? It defies logic. Another one that was in the top 10 for this week, and I would look at, is this BPT. Look at this chart. It doesn't get any cleaner. So since we broke the 50, tried to rally, was resistance. What is it today? It is support. We flipped that level. There's that little flag we talked about and said, just watch that pattern, bonk, and flipped, and it ran. So I do think these names are going to head back to their highs. I think that's where they're going. I think they're going to head back to these levels. I don't see anything that's going to stop the energy train. I really don't. I'll address it shortly. So this was like the gift that kept on giving today, Bed Bath & Beyond. This was a very simple trade. I don't think this moves over, and that's why I'm showing it. So our first entry today was 1142. That was pretty clear. We actually had a shot at that pre-market, and that made a lot of sense. We actually went through this in the live public pre-market video. So if you don't watch those, you might want to watch them later in the day. We do them every day from 8:30 to 9:15, Monday through Thursday, actually. But once you broke that 1142, that was it. Then we had our next level that we were watching, 1197. And then we just set up again right here, and it just gave us another entry right off of that. Very simple, HTF, high tight flag. And then you have this doji on top of it. So you have everything pretty much spelled out for you. And you can see that, and then you can just see the blow off top. So you just trade it up, and then you get out of the way. But I don't think this is over. Now that you're into the gap, let's get rid of the pre and post. Now that you're into the gap, I think you're going to see 1616 on this. So see how it trades. It's a little difficult right here because of the length of that bar, but it's very possible this gets to 1616 and then can kind of work its way up, maybe even see 1850 again. But when you start curling like this and you have volume coming in like that, and this volume is superseding anything that you've had in the past 5-6 days, including all the red volume, you need to pay attention to it. So I don't think that one's done just yet. Now, there was one sector in particular that closed at a higher high, only one. And there's one sector only in the whole S&P that has higher volume than the selling volume of the previous day. It's energy. Okay, so if you're looking for long positions and you're not looking at energy, you're making a mistake. That's my opinion. Okay, you can do whatever you want with that opinion. But this is what we're seeing. We're seeing names like XOP. It's another one from the newsletter. We're up about, some people are up $10, some people are up $6. But if you see this today, you got up to 154, 157.30, I think is where you're going to grind to on this. But this is a far cry from what you're seeing going on here in the SOX. And that's what I really wanted to get to. The SOX is now below the 50 again. Okay. I tried SOSX today. It didn't really stick with me. The big move was at the end of the day. I'm not sure I want to hold the 3X ETF overnight if you're not up in it at least by like 5 or 6%. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I would watch this tomorrow very carefully. But if this breaks with the way NVIDIA looks, the way AMD looks, that whole sector could get super ugly. And you're just seeing money flow out of semiconductors. And it makes a little bit of sense if you think that the Fed's going to overshoot. So keep that in mind. If we talk about the SPY, which we should, just to give you some levels, watch 400. If you get through 400, we have problems. Okay, this is the anchored VWAP from the low, and that is 396.27. But the beautiful thing about today, and why today was so great, besides it being a great trading day, was just you're at these levels where you have a doji. So your life gets a lot simpler tomorrow, right? You use the tools you have. You trade what's in front of you. You don't need to think about whether or not you're going to rally or not rally. Just if you use these levels, it makes life very simple. You can see the high today was 307.22. I said 307.33. I was off by 12 cents. So watch that. Watch how you respond to that 50-day. But you definitely want to pay attention to that. IWM, okay? Same thing, Doji. Which one actually got over the close? IWM, which is the strongest of the three markets. Okay, follow me, see how that works. So now look at the VIX. Okay, that's where you're at right now. It's down a little bit after hours, but that doesn't look like it's coming back anytime soon. And when the VIX stays up here, it increases volatility. So just be really careful with that. You have a Fed speaker tomorrow. You're going into consumer confidence tomorrow. You have a lot of housing data tomorrow. So all those points, you have the JOLTS employment data tomorrow. So you have a lot of data points. And this is bipolar. It can't make up its mind. This is the 10-year, and it really can't make up its mind at all. Looks like it's going to break because we're going to overshoot, and then today they sell the 10-year. So I think there's a lot of divergences like this going on that you need to be aware of. So that's it. Any questions? As always, reach out. Please comment on these videos. I read every single comment and respond to them. That's how I create the content and why I create the content. If you're interested in the trading community, there will be a link up here for you to preview it. It will be open for the next 3 days and then be closed for a period of time. Everybody have a great evening and trade to win tomorrow.